Hi, welcome to another edition of Green TV. I'm your host, Betsy Rosenberg, and as we have been all week, we're going to go to Glasgow, where we have people on the ground reporting to us from all different points of view with major issues, each of them a different issue, an area of focus. And I am very pleased to introduce another friend of mine from the Climate Reality Project, Al Gore's training, and that is Dr. Sailesh Rao. And you're going to hear Rao, I think I said Rao is correct, yes, I knew that. You're going to hear his areas of expertise because he truly is one of the world's leading experts on the need to get off of animals and to be not only plant-based, but vegan. And he also is a climate expert, as I was by Al Gore. But he's also one of the most outspoken and yet very polite activists on veganism. So I'm really thrilled to have you from Glasgow. I'm in the United States, but we're following it really closely, and it's great to have you.
Thank you, Betsy. Thank you for hosting me.
So this is your fourth COP. How has this one felt different in any way? You're smiling. That must be you're experiencing some optimism and reason for it, I hope.
Yeah, to me, I have been talking about this since 2009, and that people are not addressing the whole problem. They're only looking at one half of the problem. And you focus on fossil fuels. Because I see that the planet is being destroyed by twin machines, the burning machine of fossil fuels in industry and the killing machine of animal agriculture. And as long as we don't address the entire problem, we're not going to solve it correctly. Okay, that's my engineering 101 spiel that I've been telling people. I tried doing that in 2011 at the first COP that I attended, which was COP 17 in Durban, South Africa. And we got the faith community to rally around it, and we got them to even pass an interfaith declaration on climate change, where they added this addendum. It said that while climate change is a symptom, the fever that our Earth has contracted, the underlying disease is the disconnection from creation, okay, that plagues human societies throughout the Earth. And then it said, we, the undersigned, pledge to heal this disconnection by promoting and exemplifying compassion for all creation in all our actions. And everyone signed it, saying, oh, it's fundamental to my faith. And then I got a call from Bishop Tutu's secretary, Archbishop Desmond Tutu's secretary, saying Archbishop Desmond Tutu is very concerned that he signed this addendum. He said, because does that mean he has to stop eating chicken? And I said, well, it's up to him, He signed it. He knows what it means. So he needs to decide on his own.
I like the fact that he had his assistant call to make sure.
Right, to make sure. So to me, so then I realized that this is so fundamental to people's culture and the way they have been living that it's going to be a tough ask. So then in 2015, I attended COP 21 in Paris. And there, I can tell you that there was not a single vegan dish on the menu. Not a single one.
At any of the meals, there was
any of the meals.
And in 2015, I'm married 6 years
2015.
Ago. That's shocking. That is shocking.
That's shocking, right? So I went to the UN office, UNFCCC office, and I complained, saying I have nothing to eat here. How could you
not to mention the message you're not sending.
Exactly.
Or sending.
So they decided at that point to have at least one vegan dish every day. So that I know that they made a change based on that. So to me that's like a baseline, right? So COP 21 is the baseline. And then in COP 22, Morocco I attended. Okay, Morocco, and I got disillusioned. I thought there's nothing I can do here anymore, so I can stop attending this. But COP 26, I decided I had to come because to me, it is symptomatic of, how we are destroying the planet, and that if we let our political leaders continue destroying the planet like this, there is nothing we can do at the grassroots to counteract that. It's really hard. So we created a whole campaign around the cow in the room.
The cow in the room.
The cow in the room.
Or the green elephant in the room is a cow. I like that version too.
Yeah. It's become the cow in the room. And she represents all aspects of the cow in the room. She represents why we don't talk about animal agriculture when it comes to human health. Why we don't talk about animal agriculture when it comes to pandemics. You know, I see everyone walking around with face masks, and yet they have animals on the menu. It makes absolutely no sense.
You're talking about for personal health, not to mention the whole environmental piece, which of course we're going to focus on.
Right. Are you getting a lot of noise?
Yeah, there's some noise in the background, but I guess we can't make them be quiet. It is a nice background.
People are taking a picture in front of the cop sign.
Well, is there a quieter place, or should we continue? Because I can hear you. There is a little bit of noisy distraction. Well, this is almost live television. So let's get back to what this experience has been. So you came to COP26 saying, I cannot not go. And we met at Al Gore's training, but then we've been in touch through Clubhouse, where you've spoken in many rooms, and there's a very active vegan community there. I had Paige and Jane Velez Mitchell on early on in my interviews over a month ago, because I do believe that their point of view and yours must be heard. It's absolutely, something that, has been late to the party. But then again, so much is late at this point. Let me just go back, since I just mentioned Vice President Gore. He got a lot of flack, appropriately, for not changing his diet, at least publicly, for many years. What do you know about what he's eating these days? Just to look at the symbol, not that makes all that much difference, really, but I wondered.
Yeah, officially he says he's vegan.
Really?
So he says.
Does he look healthier and slimmer? Because you can't hide that when you look at Bill Clinton and how healthy he got when he had a heart problem. I believe he's a vegan, and he almost looks too thin.
Yeah, I met him here. In fact, just a couple of days ago, I met him.
Really?
He was being interviewed on COP26 TV. And after the interview, I went and gave him a copy of Glenn Mercer's book, Food is Climate. So he does look healthy.
Yes, he does. And so do you, by the way.
Thank you.
Have you been a vegan your entire life because of your religion?
No. I was vegetarian for the first 48 years of my life. And I had arthritis, I had sinus problems, all kinds of issues, health problems. And then I went vegan in 2008 for the environment, just because I was studying it and I realized that I have to drop my dairy consumption. And within a month, my arthritis went away, my sinus problems went away. I mean, everything went away, So I felt like a 16-year-old again. So I had this.
And you are a doctor, so you're very aware of how the body works. I mean, I don't know if you're a physician, doctor, or just.
No, I'm a PhD in electrical engineering.
I know you're a genius of many kinds. Okay, so what have you found? I mean, some things have changed. There's many more vegans out there now. They're much more, visible and audible. And so things are changing, and there's so many dairy substitute products. And yet, I don't know, what do the statistics show in terms of how many Americans have changed their diet? Do you have those statistics? And then we're also going to talk about how much our animal agriculture contributes to our emissions.
Right. So between 2014 and 2017, the number of people who claim they're vegan went up by a factor of 7 in America, 600%. Okay, so that was a huge shift that happened. And that was a formal survey that was done by Global Data Survey. Now, I haven't seen a survey beyond that. Okay, so I'm assuming that it is going up at the same rate, which would be awesome.
I would think at least that, really. I mean, just anecdotally.
Right.
So let's talk about how much animal agriculture and dairy, all that, contribute to emissions. There's been a lot of controversy over that. I know there was some research that you worked on that has been highly touted by vegan activists, and it's also been questioned or dismissed even by some who either don't want to believe it or don't for whatever reason. But give me the range. I mean, I've seen everything from it's responsible for 50% of our greenhouse gas emissions, 15% to, I think your study found 80-something%.
Right.
That's a big difference. Can you address that?
Certainly, yeah. So there are several aspects to both the killing machine and the burning machine. Okay, the burning machine is burning machine of fossil fuels and energy and industry. And the killing machine is a killing machine of animal agriculture and deforestation. So if you look at the direct emissions, 70% comes from the burning machine and 30% comes from the killing machine, roughly. Okay, that's how you would split it, direct emissions.
Okay.
But in nature, there is no such thing as direct emission. There is more to it than that. So there is an opportunity cost of animal agriculture. The opportunity cost is the cost of the land use. See, there is so much land that's being used for animal agriculture. And if you didn't use it for animal agriculture, you could be regenerating forests on that land. So there is an opportunity cost that you have to take into account when you compute the impact of the killing machine. There is also the opportunity benefit of fossil fuels. Because when we burn fossil fuels, we are actually also burning sulfur, and sulfur dioxide goes into the atmosphere and it cools the atmosphere, it cools the earth. And that contributes about 1/3 of the heating. It counteracts about 1/3 of the heating. Okay. So you have to take both of them, all of them into account. Because as an engineer, if someone tells me don't take that into account, by convention we only look at the direct emissions, I would say, come on, when you turn off the burning machine, you're going to lose the opportunity benefit. Or when you turn off the killing machine, you're going to get that opportunity cost, the impact of that. So I look at all of it put together as an engineer. And I would say then in that sense, how much of your effort should you be putting into the killing machine, and how much of your effort should you be putting into the burning machine? So that's the analysis I did.
And
okay.
I'm sure it's not by accident that you use very strong language: killing machine, burning machine. Have you been using that kind of language all along, or have you just had to ramp it up to get more attention?
I started using this in 2019. In my white paper that I wrote, I started calling it the killing machine and the burning machine, because to me, both of those machines have to be turned off. Okay, it's not just one. You have to turn off both machines. But there is an order, and there is a nuanced approach you need to take if you want to solve it without causing more deaths on the planet. Okay, because if you just focus on the burning machine alone and you don't take care of the killing machine at all, you are likely to kill faster, because you're going to lose the cooling effect of the burning machine. Okay, so that will heat up the atmosphere by another 1 degree Celsius, right?
So what you've given presentations at this COP. How have they been received? And was it a room full of vegans who were applauding, or did you maybe convert some skeptics, or perhaps at least planted some seeds questioning their diets?
Right. Well, we had press conferences. We had 5 press conferences, and in the press conferences, the press are not generally vegan anyway. So the people who came, I would say half of them are not vegan, half of them are vegan, and the people who are not vegan, they had their usual questions that we had to address. But I've been doing this for 15 years now, so I've heard all the questions before.
Okay, well, I'm going to cut to the chase then and ask a question I'm sure you've had many times, which is, I know quite a few environmentalists who either went vegan and said they got ill, or they can't because they know that their body won't function well. They crave animal protein and they need to have it. What do you say to them? Because there are quite a few.
Right. I would say, please get the help of a vegan doctor when you do that. A lifestyle medicine doctor when you do that, because there are reasons why you may not be able to make the transition right away. For instance, plant protein has all the essential amino acids, but it doesn't have some of the non-essential amino acids in the right proportion. Whereas if you eat meat, it's like you're eating your own body. Pretty much get all the amino acids, because animal flesh is very close to our flesh, right, in terms of the amino acid composition. So when you eat meat every day, there are certain aspects of your liver function that could shut down, because the liver says, I don't have to create this amino acids anymore because you're eating it, and our body is so efficient. It will say, if it thinks a certain portion of its function is not being used, it shuts it down, because then it can use the resources for other things, right? So then when you go vegan, your liver may have trouble waking up to that. Okay? So you may have to do it in a nuanced way.
Mhm.
So there are doctors who can help you, like plant power physicians. And there's a whole series of, there's a whole group of people called lifestyle medicine doctors who can help you with that.
So it might involve
Right.
taking some supplements.
Might involve taking some supplements. Actually, what Dr. Michael Greger recommends is that when you feel the urge to eat meat, maybe once a month or something, eat it. And then you will discover that it doesn't make you feel good. Even though you may overcome your deficiencies,
Mhm.
it won't make you feel good. So then you can last longer, so it's a way to slowly ease into it.
Yeah, and what about fish? I mean, many of us love fish and feel like that's our main source of protein as well as plants, but it's not good for
Right.
the ocean, that's for sure. And some fish are not good for our bodies with the mercury contamination. But to me, that's the hardest
Right.
one to give up.
I see. Yeah, fish, it turns out that, in terms of the total amount of food we eat by weight, 85% of our food is already plant-based worldwide. Okay. It's only 15% that's animal-based. Of that, 12% is from land animals like meat, fish, chicken, cows, dairy, all put together is about 12% of our food. And only 3% comes from the ocean.
Mm.
Okay. 3% to get 3% of our food, we are literally destroying the entire ocean. So, if you watch Seaspiracy, you will see how much of a damage we have done to the ocean. And so this is why it's important that we overcome that, because otherwise the ocean is going to die. If the ocean dies, we are all going to die. Okay, so
It's overfishing is one of the big problems. It's also
Yeah.
ocean acidification, the warming of the water, obviously, and it's all connected. But
Right.
overfishing is a big one.
Right,
And,
absolutely.
and too many countries have not, there are laws, but when they're not enforced or abided by, then you have problems, and we have problems
Right.
certainly in just that particular area, overfishing.
Right.
So, okay, so when people use the substitutes like Impossible Burger, Beyond Beef, like my husband doesn't like them because he says his doctor, his integrated medicine doctor said there's too many additives and too many unnatural ingredients and GMOs, I think, in Impossible Burgers. It's processed. What do you say to that? Because that has been
Right.
something that has helped many people get off meat, those products.
Right. I would say that if you look at what is really in the meat is also full of contaminants, because all the pollution that we pour into the atmosphere is coming down in the rain. It's being absorbed by plants, and it works its way up the food chain. And in animal foods, you get it concentrated by 2 orders of magnitude. Okay, so it's like 100 times as much dioxin in a piece of meat than there would be in a plant-based food.
And dioxin is a carcinogen, I know.
Exactly, yeah.
And
Dioxin is a carcinogen, yeah.
there have been quite a few studies showing that meat is a carcinogen, especially red meat, especially thrown on the grill, which is an American tradition. Do you think does that seem to move people? Or do people ignore that because they want to, just red meat alone?
No, it's all of them. All processed meat have been labeled as a carcinogen. So that includes sausages, hot dogs. They're all put together because
Nitrates.
they all come from different aspects of the animal. And we don't even know what's in the sausage actually.
Oh, okay. So let me move to a slightly different angle on this. I've heard it said that if everybody turned into a vegan or even a vegetarian overnight, we don't have enough food, crops, land, farms.
Oh
in
no!
in the country, in the world, to supply that kind of diet. What's the truth on that?
Well, if you look at the IPCC's data, it shows that we eat about 1.54 billion tons of food every year. Okay, in terms of the total dry weight, and of that, 1.35 billion tons is plant-based already. So 85% is plant-based already. So it's only 0.19 billion tons of food that we get from animal foods. Okay. Now to get that, we are actually extracting 7.3 billion tons of food. So our animals are eating 5 times as much food as we eat. Okay. And they're producing just a little portion of the food we eat. So if we stop raising animals for food, all that food that we extract for the animals, we can eat it directly.
Okay.
So because half the grains we eat, half the grains we grow, we feed it to our animals. We don't eat it directly.
And
so there'll be plenty of food actually.
what about those who say grass-fed beef, humanely raised, pasture, whatever, that is better than not at all. And some people think it's better than a vegan or strict vegetarian diet, that if you eat the right meats, that is not bad for the environment and it's healthier for the human body.
It's actually worse for the environment and worse for the human body too. Because
there's no way out here, is there?
Because grass-fed beef uses a lot more land. Okay, it uses a lot more water resources and land resources.
Because you're free to roam about. Is that why you need more land to not keep them?
Also because they take longer to grow. The cows they don't reach slaughter weight until 18 months.
Because they're not being stopped with a lot of hormones, you mean?
Exactly. They're not being pumped with with these grains that actually fatten them up very quickly, but they cannot last on the grains, so they get killed. So they're grain finished, right? So all beef, all cows are grass fed to begin with. But some cows are grain finished, other cows are grass finished. So when they're grass finished, you call that a grass fed beef. But grass finished, meaning they have to live longer, at least about 6 months longer, which means during those 6 months, they're eating more grass, more food, right? So they have to survive for those 6 months. So that's why it requires a lot more land, to raise grass-fed beef. And 6 months longer, they'll be eating more and more food and they're accumulating more and more toxins. Because every time we eat grass, they eat the grass contains all the toxins we pour into the environment because it's coming down in the water.
So we have a problem with our soil, not just in America, but around the world. It's been depleted of nutrients, and the whole, regenerative process and movement is great. But do we have enough healthy soil around the world to supply, healthy organic plants that are locally bought and consumed?
Right. Yeah, I mean, we have to restore the soil. That's one of the first things we need to do, right?
Restore the soil? Restore
the soils, yeah.
We're destroying it.
We're destroying it, especially with chemical agriculture. Because with chemical agriculture, it's really like mining the soil. That's what we are doing with chemical agriculture. We mine it as quickly as possible and then walk away. And, that's not the way to deal with sustainability. Sustainability is about creating an infinite game where we can do the same thing over and over forever, right?
The definition of sustainable
requires us to close the loop. Yeah.
So you're saying that soil that is not healthy can be restored fully?
Restored, absolutely. Yeah, it can be restored. I have seen situations where it was bare rock, pretty much almost bare rock, and they bring back the soil.
And regenerative agriculture is a giant movement gathering steam, luckily. But is it enough? Can that alone do it? Or do we need other factors and levers to put more pressure to?
Yeah, we need more support from the government. We need more support from people in creating more and more of these projects like Sadhana Forest. Like, there are people who are bringing back forests from next to nothing. Okay, so they're showing it can be done.
Can be done. That's good. So we'll wrap up shortly because I'm a little bit noisy behind you, and I'm sure you have things to do on the second to last day, probably, of this COP. Are there many of you in Glasgow advocates for a vegan diet that you've met?
Yeah.
You're the most outspoken. You're the most outspoken that I know and respect. Or are you infiltrating more than I would imagine previous COPs? But do you feel like there's enough of you out there being ambassadors?
Yeah, there are a lot of us now. In fact, I overheard someone say there are a lot of vegans around here. And there were mainly outside
at a climate conference, one would hope.
Right, at a climate conference, especially outside, we've had a lot of people giving out vegan food. So people who come out of COP are getting vegan food, and along with that literature on why they should be going vegan.
I've been to a raw food retreat several times, and that is vegan, of course. And there's a lot that's healthy about raw food, just not cooking it. It's plant-based, obviously. So that movement was growing, the raw food movement in this country anyway. I don't know where it is now. Do you?
I mean, it is growing. It's really, literally, it's about coming back to our roots as human beings. Because look at any other species. No other species cooks its food or eat, they eat raw, whatever is out in nature, right? And so we are the only species that spread out of Africa, where there were plenty of raw foods easily available to us to eat. And we moved to Europe and moved to North America and places where it was harsh. And so we had to survive on cooking and animal-based foods. And now we are discovering that we can actually be vegan anywhere, right? Because of modern technology and modern what we have created. And
What
so,
Mhm. Go ahead.
yeah, it's about us coming back to our roots from in Africa and becoming the one single family that we used to be.
I'm laughing. I'm smiling because I thought of the film Game Changers, which has got to be one of the best films ever made about veganism. And they interview all these super successful athletes, champions, really, of all kinds, who go on a vegan diet, and everything from their, performance, on the field to in bed improves. And
Right.
has that been a game changer? Do you hear about people who saw that movie and changed their diet?
Absolutely, yeah. It's been a great addition to our repertoire. Game Changers. It's actually, it makes a lot of sense, right? Because when we eat animal foods, we are eating cholesterol directly, and plant foods. None of the plant foods have cholesterol. The liver makes the cholesterol from the plant foods. So, in that sense, our body is able to regulate how much cholesterol comes into itself. Whereas if we eat animal foods, the cholesterol comes directly into our body and it goes and clogs up all our arteries. And as it clogs up our arteries, we become less and less efficient at doing things, because the blood's not flowing fast enough. This is why people who go plant-based become better athletes. Yeah.
And one of the disappointing things for a cheese lover, but now there's really great substitutes, is that dairy is equally as bad. What do you call that? Liquid meat or something?
Right.
Tell us, for those who don't know, why, if you give up meat, but you're still eating yogurt and cheese and drinking cow milk, whatever, that's
Right.
equally bad or almost as bad.
Yeah, it's probably even worse. And I was a vegetarian for most of my life, and I didn't know this. And in 2008, I finally figured out how dairy was impacting the environment, and I went vegan on the spot. This was in Rajasthan, India, because I didn't want to hurt the animals. I thought dairy, I'm not hurting the animals,
Right.
but of course I'm hurting the animals.
It's not
then
so
I went and,
it's not so obvious to a lot of people, maybe because I
I
don't
know,
want it that way.
I know.
That was a big wake up call for me. So
Right.
now there are really good substitutes. I'm really impressed. We have
Right.
in Austin, Texas, we have a shop called Rebel Cheese, and it's the only location, unfortunately, but you would swear you're eating goat cheese and brie, and they even make pepper brie. They spice it, and we love it. And by the way, if someone's watching, you can order it. They have mail order. Rebel Cheese. It's a revelation. I said, are you going to expand since there's such demand? There's got to be such demand for this. They said, no, we just like to stay small. So it's REB.
Yeah.
I'll check it out. That was quite an exciting find. Okay, so what else would you like to share with us before we let you get back to the activities?
I just want to say that I want to give a shout out to all the vegan restaurants in Glasgow. There are 20 of them, and they're absolutely amazing. And I wish they had been given an opportunity to serve the people at COP, because they would have done an awesome job. And I've had cheese at one of these restaurants, and it was exactly as you said. I couldn't believe it was it was
Can't believe
vegan
it's
cheese.
And where do you live, Dr. Rao? And do you have many vegan restaurant options in your area?
Yeah, I live in Phoenix, Arizona, and there are 35 vegan restaurants in Phoenix.
Wow.
If not more, yeah.
That's great.
The last time I counted, there were 35. Yeah.
You probably tried them all.
Oh, I wish there are some I still have to go to. Yeah.
So before we close, let's talk about the heat in Arizona. Oh my goodness. I don't know how long you've lived there, but it's getting scary. We moved from the Bay Area to Texas. And not only do we have triple digit days in the summer, but we had Snowmageddon in February, harrowing. What have you noticed? I mean, when I heard the asphalt on the runways at the airports in Phoenix a couple of times at least was melting, and yet a lot of people are moving there to the Southwest, and it's getting hotter.
Yeah, it is getting hotter. It is. I mean, we have seen 120-degree days, and it's been increasing over
Yep.
time.
Yep.
We moved here in 2000. We moved to Phoenix in 2012 to be close to our granddaughter, and so I mean, I love it, but I also see it as ground zero for climate change, and that we will solve climate change if we can make Phoenix green.
Yes.
So that's the reversal that needs to happen.
So tell our viewers where they can find the research that you worked on, showing how damaging animal agriculture is to the climate.
Sure, absolutely. All my research work is available on climatehealers.org. And the new campaign that we are running is called The Cow in the Room. And you can find that on thecowintheroom.org.
Oh, you had a little film, a minute-long film. Can you?
Right, I can show you.
That would be a nice way to end.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not a co-host yet.
Oh, you're not? Okay, well, I don't want to mess
You
with
just
that
say-
now. I thought you were. Well, you know what? We'll have a link. Can you send us a link and we'll have that?
Yeah, I'll send you a link to
Send it.
the video. Okay. Yeah.
Okay,
Perfect.
operator error, my fault. Sorry about that. Well,
No problem.
it's been a pleasure. Always learn from you, and I'm glad you're out there and smiling. You must, like me, have a lot of frustration. From the mainstream media that has all but ignored climate change until recently, and thinking they're covering it now because they do a story here and there and maybe a couple on COP, and then they go back to their regularly scheduled programming. So how do you keep up your optimism? We'll end on that note, given what's going on with our climate. How do you stay hopeful? Or is it
Well,
personality?
I have a philosophy that I'm here as an instrument, and I'm going to do everything I can to get the truth out. But the result is not in my hands, so I'll let go of the results.
Be attached to the process, not the outcome. There's a saying.
Exactly.
Like
Exactly.
I have to remind myself of that. Thank you for reminding me. Thank you so much, Dr. Sailesh Rao. It's a pleasure to see you, as well as hear you on Clubhouse. And go forward and raise the volume, greenify, and we'll do what we can. This greentv.com is new, and it's all about solutions, and you're certainly one of the solutionaries. So it's been an honor to be able to chat with you here.
It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Have you
Thank
back
you,
again, I
Betsy.
hope. Thank you. Safe travels home.
Thank you, Betsy. Bye-bye.